Hello my friends. My name is Bot Mathematician, and this is Holomancer. In this video you'll find the best Wild Hearthstone decks with the highest win rate for each class. While reading comments, I often find requests for Wild content. But unfortunately, Hearthstone's Wild format continues to stand very much in the shadow of the game's more popular standard mode.
Low popularity naturally leads to a lack of information, statistics and actual guides about the Wild mode. However, we have managed to collect information for this video bit by bit. We used a large number of different articles with guides along with several sources with statistics. According to our polls, only 33% of players sometimes play the Wild format. This is a bit strange to me. According to our statistics, over 60% of players have been playing for more than 2 years, and that means they have a large number of cards, and have the ability to be competitive in the Wild format. So, why don't you play Wild? Write your answer in the comments. I would be interested to know your reasons. And of course, if you want to see more videos about the Wild format, you should press the like button.
I think this is the perfect moment to play Wild. The standard matter is in poor condition. In the last video, I created a YouTube poll. According to its results, 70% of you think that we need new nerfs. Although there is a great diversity of archetypes, the Druid is dead, and the Hunter has too much hype. Therefore, the Wild format is in a perfect place.
And now let's move on to a list of the most powerful Wild decks.
So, we begin with Exodia Mage. It will cost you 6,240 dust to craft. This deck has a 56% win rate.
Exodia Mage gets its name from the Exodia combo from Yu-Gi-Oh!, a difficult but instantly winning 5-card combo. The main idea in Hearthstone is to use Archmage Intonitus and 4 copies of Sorcerer's Apprentice to play infinite fireballs. To get to the combo, Exodia Mage casts Area of Effect freezes, preventing the opponent from attacking or reacting. By drawing and stalling the game out as much as possible, the deck aims to use Emperor Tharisin to reduce the cost of at least 4 components of the combo, such as 2 Sorcerer's Apprentices, 2 Molten Reflections to copy the Apprentices, or an Archmage Intonitus. The player ultimately ends up with 4 Sorcerer's Apprentices and Intonitus, which allows the player to cast free fireballs infinitely.
In spot 8 is Pirate Warrior. This deck has a 61% win rate. After the mean streets of Gadgetzan was rotated to the Wild format, Pirate Warrior became a Wild exclusive deck. It uses a mix of pirates and weapons to dominate the board throughout the game, and uses this tempo to rush down opponents for fast victories.
In all matchups you should be looking for Cursed Blade, N'Zoth's First Mate, Ship's Cannon, and Sir Finley. If you can get off to a lightning fast start, which is so important for a deck like this, then you should be able to build a massive board presence very quickly. Your opponent will struggle to both survive and mount an offensive of their own at the same time, leading to some very quick matches indeed. Despite not gaining any new cards besides Shieldbreaker, the deck is still one of the most formidable aggro decks in the Wild format.
At 7th place is Pirate Rogue with a 62% win rate. Pirate Rogue is an archetype that people have tried to make work since the early days of Hearthstone.
Pirate Rogue is a very aggressive deck that heavily relies on getting a fast start to rush down opponents. You should look for a strong curve in your opening hand that lets you develop the board as much as possible. Following on from the early game, you should try to get your Kingsbane as strong as possible using buffs from Deadly Poison, Tinker's Sharpsword Oil and Captain Greenskin. Despite being a very aggressive deck, you should not always be attacking your opponent directly. It is important to protect your own board from your opponent's minions as the deck is heavily reliant on using minions to win the game. If you find yourself running out of cards, the deck offers many ways to refill your hand. The easiest way is to use Raiding Party, as drawing 2 additional pirates will go a long way.
The 6th position is held by Big Priest, the most popular deck in the Wild mode. Its win rate is 62%. However, Big Priest is the most expensive deck from this list. 10,620 dust is needed to craft the deck.
This deck does a tremendous job of controlling the early stages of the game, while having the kind of meaty endgame power that will leave even the heaviest control decks quaking in their boots. You don't have a lot of minions to play with, but they're all top-notch, and will provide you with an advantage. Big Priest can steal a victory on turn 4 with Barn's help. The Lich King will add a random Death Knight card to your hand. At the top end, Ragnaros the Firelord can burn down opponents quickly, even in unfavorable matchups.
In 5th place is Anifin Murloc Paladin. This is not the most popular deck from the list, but it has a fairly high win rate. Murloc decks have existed since Hearthstone's inception, and they continue to be an exceptionally potent way of climbing the ladder, utilizing cheap minions with tribal synergies to rush down opponents.
Anifin Paladin is a deck archetype that focuses on board control in the early to mid stages of the game, before unleashing all hell in the latter half through cards such as Anifin can happen. All those Murlocs you used early on to keep the opponent under control come back to life with a vengeance now, and they are ready to dish out some serious pain to the enemy's face. In general, you will not go wrong by hanging onto cards like Righteous Protector, Bluegill Warrior and Wild Pyromancer in your starting hand. If you have the coin, you might give greater consideration towards keeping Truesilver Champion as well, as it can provide you with a powerful tempo swing in a large number of matchups.
4th place is held by Even Warlock. Even Warlock is massively underplayed in the meta, while also presenting a meta-breaking win rate.
In combination with Greymane, Life Tap becomes one of the most powerful and reliable card-drawing engines in the game, enabling powerful minions like Mountain Giant and Hooked Reaver to be played early. Known for its turn 3 Mountain Giants, Even Warlock powers out large minions in the early game to dominate the board and apply pressure to opponents. On top of the usual assortment of threats, Warlock regains access to Molten Giant, which further incentivizes reducing your life total. Likewise, Faceless Shambler gives the deck a chance to duplicate beefy minions on board. These synergy can blow out unsuspecting opponents. In addition, this deck is very adaptable, which can tilt towards beating aggro, control, or combo decks.
In spot 3 is Jade Druid, which has a win rate close to 63%. The Jade mechanic is now completely exclusive to Wild.
As the game goes on, not only does the archetype gain an advantage through having more mana, but its Jade idols give a degree of inevitability. The ever-increasing size of the idols means that they are progressively more threatening as time goes on. Jade Druid runs the typical assortment of Druid defensive tools, which can stall against fast decks thanks to a slew of taunts and armor generation mechanics, such as Spreading Plague, Branching Paths, and Malfurion the Pestilent. Finally, Jade Druid has access to Ultimate Infestation. Jade Idol allows Jade Druid to completely avoid fatigue without ever running out of threats.
In 2nd place is Mech Hunter. This deck displays strong win rates at lower ranks. The popularity of Big Priest is something that Mech Hunter has been able to capitalize upon due to the fact that it establishes a highly threatening board in the early turns. In addition, this deck is the cheapest from this list, costing only 3,360 dust.
Initially, many Wild players feared that the combination of new mechs from Boomsday and those released in Goblins vs Gnomes would make the tribe oppressive in the format. In the end, this didn't quite pan out, but a new form of aggressive hunter did assert itself in the Wild meta. Combining Mechwarper and Galvanizer helps cheat the mana curve into powerful burst turns with Metaltooth Leaper. Similarly, sticky mechs make it likely to land a magnetic minion on board, essentially giving it charge.
And finally, in 1st place is Even Shaman, the most powerful deck in the current Wild meta. This deck has the highest win rate, over 71%.
Even Shaman floods the board with minions thanks to the reduced hero power cost provided by Greymane. With this in mind, the deck runs several buff cards such as Dire Wolf Alpha and Flametongue Totem. And cards like Thing from Below and Sea Giant have their costs reduced quickly, easily cheating the mana curve and continuing the board pressure. Also, an important component is the cards that summon Jade Golems. The downside of this is that all of your cards need to have even mana costs. On the first turn you will often simply use your hero power to create a totem. If you go second you can use the coin to kill an opposing minion with Merc Spark Eel, which can be a good play.
And finally, this week Blizzard sent out invitations to some players for a large Hearthstone survey. If you are unlucky, and you have not received an invitation, like me, you can vote in the unofficial poll from the user Pigeon Puncher. You will find the link in the comments. Also, we added some of these questions to traditional YouTube polls. One of them is, how do you rate the Wild format?
Find the button on the screen, please vote and share your opinions in the comments.
Alright, that's all for today. Thank you for being with us.
And special thanks to Chris for text editing.
We will meet in new videos.
Good luck.